Julian, thanks so much for being here. So, bumper result when it came to profits, obviously on the back of oil prices as well. And I suppose moving forward, anyone that's invested in your company or following your company is going to ask, you made a decision not to pay out a dividend because you're going to be spending that money on Capex. Do you think you're going to be able to derive enough value to make up for people not being able to get that dividend?
Yeah, look, it's a good question. And at the board, we talk about sort of capital management quite regularly. And obviously it's a topic for us. Look, I think as we go through 2024, we'll see a continued strong build in our cash position. The board has said that they will continue to look at how we allocate our capital in terms of giving money back to shareholders, whether that's dividends or whether it's some form of buyback. That needs to be balanced against some of our growth potential. But now we're generating quite a lot of strong income from two assets, one obviously in Brazil, the Baúna asset, and the second one, the Who Dat asset that we recently bought in the Gulf of Mexico. They're both performing strongly, and I expect to see that really help build our cash position, which I think will give the board lots of options to think about as we go through 2024.
Speaking of, can I just ask you, because, a lot of people have been looking at Petrobras of late. They're not paying a dividend because they're investing big in Capex as well. Does it, I suppose, buoy you the fact that we are seeing this huge amount of investment coming through in the region with which that you operate, and I suppose sort of points to say that you're on the right track with what you're doing as well?
Look, I think it's a really good point. And Petrobras has a massive investment program over the next 5 to 6 years, lifting their production. Overall production in Brazil is expected to go up from about 3 million barrels a day to 5 million barrels a day before the end of the decade. So, look, it's absolutely a great place to be investing. Having said that, of course, there is the other side of the equation that when you've got a lot of people investing in your region, it can put stress on some of the services. It can make those more expensive. So there are also cost impacts, of course, that we need to think about as we consider new projects in Brazil. But it's a great place to invest, great region for us, and it's been really doing well for us over the last sort of 3 years or so since we bought the asset.
Yeah, and so do you look at expanding more as far as U.S. offshore assets are concerned? What is your inorganic growth strategy, Julian?
Look, we have been very clear with the market that we have a strategy that we've just executed, certainly a first part of that, around buying a new oil-producing asset. We diversified the regions where we operate. We were in only Brazil, now we're Brazil and the Gulf of Mexico. We've been very open to the market about that, looking at oil assets primarily, oil assets that are in production. At the right time, we'll continue to look at that strategy and continue to develop it. I think where we are at the moment, we have a bit of work to do to make sure we're consolidating the recent acquisition of the Who Dat asset. That'll continue to take a few months during this year. But probably as we come into the second half of the year, there will be, I'm certainly anticipating there'll be a level of comfort around the degree to which we've integrated that new asset, and we'll then be looking to new opportunities. One of those, of course, is an organic asset, the Neon asset. We see great potential there. It's not without risks. It's a relatively low volume asset at the moment, and so we're looking at ways to de-risk that. That'll be something that we take to the board for potentially moving into the next stage over the next few weeks.